plan. Make one and stick to it. That way, you will keep the keys to your home.
Lead Story Prime on this Tuesday looks at two St. Mary's seats, one in which the incumbent Member of Parliament for the JLP, Dr. Norman Dunn, faces a tough passage back to Gordon House, and in the other, it is expected to be a procession for the PNP given the party's stranglehold on that seat, even at the worst of times. But you never can tell in politics, and that's why the PNP have sent a strong candidate to Central St. Mary to do the business for them. We look at both seats this evening, speaking to a representative from across the political divide, the PNP's Omar Newell in Central St. Mary, and of course, the man wearing the crown of MP in Southeast St. Mary, Dr. Norman Dunn. All right, so we start with Central St. Mary as we look in depth at seats going into the next election. Have about 4 to 6 weeks before the argument will be settled, you expect. And what is true is that Central St. Mary is as loyal as it gets when it comes to political parties and their certainty ticking off a seat before the election is done. If you look at the history of voting in Central St. Mary, 2007, let's start there as a reference point. Dr. Maurice Guy trouncing Lennon Richards, a difference of 1,932 votes. Come forward 4 years, Lennon Richards returned for more, and Guy increased his majority 2,785. Then, 2016, the JLP swapped out Richards for Jason James. The punishment was still the same, 1,848. He was short of Dr. Guy's mark. And then in 2020, the COVID election, the Lennon Richards coming back for the JLP and closing to within 407 votes of Dr. Guy. What is true is that you have to put an asterisk beside the 2020 results. Now, if you look at the vote difference between the candidates in the last 4 elections, you look at 2020 and the trend does support the argument that it was anomalous, given that only 3.4 percentage points separated the candidates then. Otherwise, comfortable for the Team Orange, a double-digit difference between the candidates. 2007, 2011, 2016, average 15.6% difference across those 3 voting years. In terms of the local government elections, Port Maria was in play for the JLP. They held on to it going in, but the PNP corrected what they would tell you was a glitch in the matrix. And so of the 4 divisions in Central St. Mary, only Hampstead is in the green column. Highgate, Port Maria, Islington, solidly a PNP. And that's the story for the opposition party. And as the local government strength has been filled out, they believe that, yeah, it's going to be a mere formality come election night when the constituents are asked to send an MP back to Gordon House. So we've looked at the tail of the tape where Central St. Mary is concerned. So I have invited Omar Newell here, not to interrogate his route to Gordon House, but just to ask him, what does he have in store for residents of Central St. Mary, constituents all, when and if he gets to go to a Gordon House? I want to say good evening to Omar Newell here. Welcome to Lead Story Prime.
Good evening, George, and good evening to your listeners. Thank you for having me.
Right, just to give the viewers some historical context, of course, Central St. Mary was not one of the original constituencies contested in 1944. Universal adult suffrage first came into play in 1959, and of course the PNP won that with Kenneth Sterling. The JLP's one win in a competitive election, and you have to be careful how you say that, because 1983 was anomalous because the PNP did not contest the election. So in real terms, the JLP have sent 2 MPs from Central St. Mary to Parliament over time. But the one contested election that they did win was in 1962 when Wycliffe Martin won for the JLP in 62. Since then, only 83, when the PNP did not contest, did the JLP manage to send a member of Parliament to Gordon House. Interestingly, Omar, looking through the history of Central St. Mary, all but Wycliffe Martin, as members of Parliament in Central St. Mary, have been cabinet ministers.
Yes.
So it is that there is a lot awaiting you if you complete this mission of getting into Gordon House.
And that is one of the things that comes up in our data, in terms of polling data within the constituency, that the constituents pride the fact that they have elected candidates or parliamentarians who have the potential. Now, not all have been cabinet ministers in their first term, but all of them have had cabinet potential and have gone on to serve in the cabinet. And in looking at the candidates in Central St. Mary, especially the business community when polled, that is one of the things that they're considering. And for you history muffins, in case you're wondering, well, George, why don't you tell us? So we did mention Kenneth Sterling at the top. He was Minister of Housing. Wycliffe Martin for the JLP wasn't the cabinet minister, but Noel Silvero was Minister of Home Affairs. And of course, the legendary Horace Clark, who served as Minister of Energy, Mining, Agriculture as well. Dr. Maurice Guy was Minister without portfolio, in charge of Transport and Works. I remember very well when he was the one doing the legwork where the Road Traffic Act that we're now using is concerned. He was the one who between
piloted
2012 and 2016.
There you go. All right. So the history is there, and it is a serious seat for people who have serious political ambition. Let's start at the top, though. You are a son of Central St. Mary?
Yes, born at Port Maria Hospital. My grandmother likes to remind me, though, that I don't belong to Port Maria, even though Port Maria has adopted me. She took me home to Islington. I grew up between Islington and Highgate. Spent a lot of time working, especially as a young politician in Hampstead Division, trying to assist the candidates in that division. And I've grown up, Central St. Mary has grown me. You know, I went to basic school in both Islington and Highgate. Dunn will tell you that I went to Water Valley, even though he spent more time there than me, clearly different eras. And I went to Highgate Primary, St. Mary High School. I did spend some time at Titchfield High as well, but the majority of my schooling has been in Central St. Mary.
And I left at higher education?
Well, I went to universities in New York and in Chicago. But even then, my mother continued to operate a business in the constituency. My aunt, who is a former president of the Midwives Association of Jamaica, maintained her residence there. And that has always been home.
I remember the first time we met, it was at a send-off for you. Don't know if you remember, we were at the Pegasus poolside. You were going overseas. And it was a night when 2 other friends, so it was about 4 of us were having a drink. My friend said, well, you have to meet this guy. He's you remember that?
Yes,
so,
a very good mutual friend.
You were going off to the US?
I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It might have been one of the times I came home for holiday and was going back.
Going back, there you go. All right, so Omar, what are the things that you will bring to Central St. Mary?
So a number of things, and I will stay a little bit away from the normal things that are asked for of members of parliament, that members of parliament may not have total control over. Water, I know some work has started in terms of the Jordan Wells project to bring water into significant aspects of the constituency. I've been in regular touch with the Minister of Water, just following up on the progress of that. Roads, that is another major issue across the constituency and across Jamaica in terms of interior roads. One of the things, though, that even while going in, as I contemplate legacy, is just an expansion of Port Maria and creating jobs. There's an area called Ballard's Valley, which is, let me walk back a little bit. I think a lovely highway has been built between Negril and Port Antonio, which provides significant potential for logistics. We have not done enough to really tap into that potential. And so I'm working with members of the business community, and we've started to do a development that will include housing. We've brought in the owner of a hardware distribution company. He's going to set up a distribution center there. It's on 300 acres of land, where NHT has 600 acres adjoining. Based on NHT's housing demand surveys, Highgate and Port Maria has significant unmet demand for housing. So we're putting housing there, and we're going to build out a commercial space there. I'm the Deputy Shadow for Trade, Investment and Global Logistics. Factors Corporation falls under my portfolio. But in addition to that, as a businessman, I've built significant connections, and some of them have expressed a willingness to come in. Once we go through the necessaries in terms of approvals at the parish council level and at the national level.
You know, I hear you say that you want to use the time to talk about some of the other considerations that a normal rural MP wouldn't necessarily put first up as things he wants to achieve. That's admirable, but you know country people very well that they want the bread and butter.
Absolutely.
So in those areas where there's darkness and people still use, as country people say, buckle torch, you know what I'm talking about? A bottle torch, for those of you who are too refined to understand. So the bottle torch people, the people them will say, boy, not even donkey can walk on this road, and just the bread and butter, your plan to deliver on those.
So what we're going to prioritize, so the first thing is, I'm the only candidate that can say I have strong relationships across both political parties. I've been a member of the executive of the People's National Party since 2012. Prior to that, I was a member of the New York chapter of the PNP. I was a vice president of the People's National Movement, etc. I have strong ties. I intend to use those relationships and connections to deliver real impact to the people of St. Mary and of Central St. Mary. What we're going to do in terms of road and infrastructure is we're going to start with the areas that can create employment and the areas leading into schools. So those are the first set of roads that we're going to give priority attention to. Islington, I don't want to start naming because then people get jealous, but there's significant work. I'm aware of, I was a part of the consultations in terms of the roads in the constituents that will be on the Spark program. And I've been a part of pretty much every major consultation as far as development is concerned in the constituents in the last 15 years. I'm in agreement with most of the roads that are going on the program. There are some that I'm a little concerned about, especially leading from Port Maria, opening up into Islington, Friendship being an area that doesn't sleep. And from Islington through Knutsfield leading down to Friendship. I'm a little concerned that those roads are not a part of it. But I've been a part of the process as a resident of the constituency, going in, making my voice known in terms of where the needs are. I have a strong relationship with the JPS parish team. And so I'm one of the persons who, anytime a light post, I lean upon an old person's house, them call Mr. Newell first, and I'm generally able to send out, and they're very responsive where that is concerned. I've also tried to engage, again, on bread and butter issues in terms of solid waste management, etc., within the constituency. I've tried to maintain a good relationship with the various stakeholders and to engage them as best as possible. To
Stick a pin right there. This is Lead Story Prime, talking to the man going forward for the PNP in Central St. Mary, Omar Newell. History suggests he will win, but history doesn't vote on election day, so he still needs the support to get the job done. More after these.
Join us this week on Tourism One-on-One as we examine the growth of Chocolate Dreams Limited and how it has benefited from various initiatives by the Tourism Enhancement Fund through its Tourism Linkages Network.
Every dream conquered is another dream gained.
Well, if you know the history of your politics, you'll know that there are some St. Andrews seats which have been dominated by the PNP in, well, for almost forever in general elections. But if you look at South St. Andrew in particular, two constituencies there, South St. Andrew and Southwest St. Andrew, Angela Brown-Burke and, of course, the opposition leader, Mark Goling. When you look at the history of those seats, things could have been different. There was a figure there named Clem Tavares for the JLP, who was a legend back in those days. Many people say, had he not died, then the situation in terms of stronghold and the party holding on, holding the power in those seats would have been different. So there's a case to be made that those seats aren't as strong as Central St. Mary, and you'd be very much on the right side of history, I believe, if you say that Central St. Mary is the one seat. It does not matter what happens in Jamaica. Central St. Mary will hold up. It will hold up for the PNP. That being said, it still has to be serviced. It still has to put forward the right candidate for Comrades to support. And Omar Newell will be the first to tell you that, yes, I'm the right man, given my antecedents and my track record so far. His opponent, likely opponent on election day, and I like to do things right, you're not a candidate until after nomination day. For now, you're the candidate in waiting, you're the aspirant, you're the caretaker, whatever it is, but you aren't the candidate, because come nomination day, it's going to be difficult for a party to tell you that, you know what, I'm going with George instead of you. When you've been nominated already, it's almost an impossibility. So there's a thing in being on the list sent to the EOJ after nomination day. Notwithstanding that, Nathaniel Jamar Mirage is the man who is set to contest this seat for the JLP against Omar Newell and the awesome power of the PNP in Central St. Mary. I put this to you, Omar. Some people say that Central St. Mary, this race is shaping up to be a sharp contrast, because they say Jamar Mirage is a man very close to the people, round robin guy, party guy, close to the younger folks directly. You, not that you aren't a man of the people, but you are an academic, you are a studious fellow, you are a serious businessman, and that it's a contrast in styles. I don't know what impact that may have on election day, but do you think the characterizations are correct?
Well, I want to start off with a bit of your preamble, if I may. So Central St. Mary has generally voted for the People's National Party, but we take nothing for granted. And so we are in a contest as far as my team and I are concerned, and we are competing. And so we don't take the view that we have already won. We take the view that we have to gain the trust of the people, and we have to ensure that we build that confidence that we will give them quality representation. In terms of the contrast, that is not what I'm feeling on the ground. As I said, I grew up in Central St. Mary. I didn't take party promoting as a career, but people will tell you that I generally support their events. I've been in the constituency doing youth work. I was the director of community services at the National Youth Service. And one of the places I would generally get a lot of calls from is St. Mary because of my antecedents, because that is where I'm from and that's where I live. So people can find me in a park and say, look, we want this program, etc. And so I did a lot where the young people in Central St. Mary are concerned. Even now, when I'm on walks, people come to me and say, hey, Mr. Newell, this has happened 10 years ago. My son is a teacher now. There's one story of a lady who, I met her son when he was in Port Maria Cemetery in about 2013, digging grave. And the lady was taking me, introducing me to everybody. And the young man said, what about me? I want to meet Mr. Newell. And usually you have an impression of people who dig in grave, etc. This guy sounded brilliant. Came up and we started a conversation, found out that he had over 7 CSEC, played football for his high school, completed CAPE. I said, what's going on? We're doing September. Boy, he couldn't find the $500 to apply for school. Well, he's a teacher now. I called the president of CASE, got him into CASE, got him work on campus as a part of a program that I started called the Access to Higher Education Program, where NYS partnered with schools to negotiate down and to pay a part of the tuition so that poor people could go to school for free. That's something I started, and a lot of people benefited from it. So when I walk around the constituency, whether it's the entrepreneurship program that I started or the graduate work experience program where we placed people in work and paid them a stipend, and Heart Trust continues that program today, or it is the rural youth entrepreneurship in agriculture program, which I started with international funding,
Yes.
along with 4-H.
Yes.
A lot of the beneficiaries of those programs, they're now parents,
Yes.
and they have younger siblings, etc., and they're batting for Newell.
Yes.
And so I don't agree
Yes.
that there's one that is on the ground more than both.
Yes.
What I'll say is there's one candidate who can both walk with kings and the common man, and that is Omar Newell.
I hear you on that.
Yes.
I've always wanted to ask you, Omar Newell, what you mean, not from a theoretic perspective, because that definition is easy to find and is understood by many, myself included. But I wanted to know what you mean, or meant, well, mean still, when in the race between yourself and the good Senator, Professor Floyd Morris, for the right to represent the PNP in Central St. Mary, you said that you wanted to lead from a basis of democratic socialism in the constituency. It caught my eye and I said, I wonder what the gentleman means. I have you here now. What did you mean then? Do you hold that view now?
I absolutely do, without any apology. So I grew up I've had a blessed life, a wonderful life. I sound old, eh? Young as I grew up, 5 of us on one bed in a 1-bedroom house in Highgate, where when I passed common entrance, I just date myself. My school uniform was in question in terms of, we played so much karate in primary school, those uniforms couldn't go to high school. And it was people in Highgate and Islington who gave me their hand-me-downs and assisted with shoes, etc. People like Auntie Georgia would send a this or send a that to help out. People like Chris Burns used to contribute to a program at St. Mary High School where I could get a patty and a cocoa bread when we were in line. Them time we never had no pride where you're worried that I'm going to say
you just wanted to eat.
You want your patty and your cocoa bread and your Big Joe.
Yeah.
Sorry for the plug. And you're going through, right? I want a society where people can reach their potential. People can reach their potential. Where the only thing can limit you, or that would limit you, is your talent. And so what I want for Central St. Mary is really just that in terms of outcome, where the opportunities are equal. And the programs that we have reflect that. So for example, because persons with disabilities and the elderly are less mobile, they're the last to hear about programs at the constituency office, etc. We're dedicating 20% of programs to them. Because young people, in my view, are not just the future, but they're today. We're creating a youth advisory council in the constituency where they will have a say in terms of how programs are implemented. And
hear me now. I hear that. But democratic socialism is something that interrogators of the Mark Golding supremacy in the PNP when he took the role of president, they wanted to place on him, and he very skillfully, I believe, shifted it to one side because he didn't believe in the labels and slogans that were in vogue in the 1970s when the ideological war between the two parties, the JLP and the PNP, was at its highest. So even the party has said, listen, we're talking about in practical terms what we're going to do for people. We're not wanting this slogan of democratic socialism, given how loaded that term is. So I said to myself, why is it that Party Central does not adopt that approach when talking about policy it wants to implement or how it's going to help the people, but the candidate in waiting has seen it fit to take it on frontally. That's why, that's what puzzled me.
So let me be clear.
Yes.
I'm not speaking on behalf of the party. I'm not here as a representative of the General Secretary and the President are very capable of.
Yes.
Mark Golding is an amazing leader, and I think based on what he has demonstrated, we have the same views in terms of the outcomes that we want for people in this country. However, we decided to label it. So as far as I am concerned, you have asked me about my views, and I'm sharing my views.
Yes.
Now, what really matters to people in Central St. Mary, though, is how do we ensure that their children who are leaving schools like Horace Clark High School can adapt and adjust into society and be able to take care of their families when they leave. Which is why in another few weeks, we're donating a car that I've already secured to Horace Clark High School for their automatic mechanic department as a part of converting it into a center of excellence for technical vocational education and training so that people can leave with a skill. Whether if you're academically inclined, the space is there for it, but you can leave with a level 3 if you start doing auto mechanic in grade 9. You can leave with a level 3 in construction, in building construction, or in plumbing, or in some of those areas that there's good demand for locally and overseas, and you can provide for your family. So the outcomes, hold on.
Yes.
So we're aligned as far as the outcomes are concerned.
But hear me now. Fine.
Yes.
Again. So I'm saying, is it that you wanted to represent at that moment a package of values and a vision for the constituency that you felt was best articulated in the expression of that term, democratic socialism? And that was your aim, rather than to talk about an ideological approach that you would take as a candidate, which would be strange because candidates don't normally take that approach. It's normally something, as you rightly say, from party central, that the party says they want to take the whole country in. It's not usually communicated in that way by a candidate in a seat. So again, I'm just trying to establish why you communicated it that way.
But you're asking me to go back to 2023 and remember the exact context of the conversation that you're speaking of. But I want to say that the People's National Party has always been a big tent. We have always, even in the height of the ideological divide in the 70s, you could find candidates who were far right or further right, and candidates who were further left than where the party centered itself in terms of democratic socialism. So it's not an unusual thing for people to have different, and I don't think it is much different, but it's not an unusual thing to find some variances in terms of philosophical groundings of candidates within the People's National Party. We're a big tent movement.
Yeah. Let me ask you this now. In terms of the approach that you're taking to solving the problems that constituents still have, notwithstanding the fact that they've had unbroken PNP representation over time, things ebb and flow. For that mother with a family, she's by herself, similar circumstances to how you were raised, she's raising children in those circumstances. For a bright youngster who can't see a future because of the financial obstacles in the path, for a farmer wanting a little assistance from the authorities to unlock wealth for himself, for all these people, what do you want to say to them tonight about what it is that you're intending to do for them, even if your party does not win the whole thing, but you get into Gordon House as an advocate on their behalf?
Yes, very good question. Now, that is what the people of Central St. Mary want to hear about. I don't speak about these things in the abstract. These are things that I'm currently doing. So a farmer in Central St. Mary can take note of the fact that we're working with the JAS groups within the constituency. We started with the group in Frontier Farmers.
Can I ask you to just hold the point?
Sure.
I don't want to disturb you. We have to take the break and come right back. This is Lead Story Prime here on CVM TV.
Everybody, I'm Yendi, and this is Odyssey with Yendi. In this space, we connect with some of your favorite people as they share their journeys. Here we have some unfiltered conversations as we deep dive into their inspirations, motivations, and experiences to inspire our own life journey.
Odyssey with Yendi. Brought to you by Grace, Singer, and Islandnet Services.
Let's delve deep into the issues. We'll take you beneath the surface.
Greetings and salutations. My name is Orville Higgins, and it's another edition of Fan Central.
Talking to the people at the heart of the top sporting stories. Hear from your favorite sportsmen and women and the administrators who work tirelessly to make it all happen. It's live sports talk.
I've written an entire article.
Yes.
Looking at all the major issues every Tuesday at 9 p.m. It's Fan Central.
Start your journey with a Jane Bank Small Business Loan with small business loans with as little as $10,000 and up to $4 million.
The time is 8:30.
Omar Newell, the PFP's standard bearer in Central St. Mary, talking not about what he's going to do for people if he gets into Gordon House, but what he can help them to achieve.
Thank you. Okay, so we've started working with farmers in Frontier Farmers Heights. We brought in business people, and we worked with them from land preparation all the way to access to markets. And if you go to Farmers Heights now, they'll tell you their only disappointment is that I don't talk enough about the program that I've done with them. Some land that Michael Manley had given to their foreparents on a project land lease, and we've had them planting Irish potato, watermelon, etc. In terms of mothers in the constituency, the reason on Sunday we completed 4 of the 5 scheduled back-to-school medicals is because last year we saved families over $3 million in monies that they would have spent on medicals, and we want to save them an equal or greater amount this year. In terms of nutrition, we have a pretty good nutrition program where from time to time the most indigent families we go in and give assistance to. But the greatest way I can be of help to them is that space that I spoke about at the start of the program where we're going to create more than 1,000 jobs so that they can go in and earn, because people don't really want a handout.
Yes.
People want a hand up.
Yes.
And we're coming in to give a hand up and to ensure that we can help them to be productive and to become their best selves.
Yes.
So they will do well with Newell.
They will do well with it. That's your
Newell.
tagline.
That is it.
There you go. All
That's
the best.
my commitment.
That's your commitment.
Yes.
Your covenant to the people.
That is my covenant.
All the best to you, Omar, and I hope we'll speak again.
Thank you.
Omar Newell, he's the PNP standard bearer in Central St. Mary, and he says the people will do right by electing him to Gordon House on election day, whenever that time comes. All right, I switched now to Southeast St. Anne before I speak to my guest, just to give you a preview of what the numbers are saying about the constituency from the last election and from recent ones. If you go back to 2007, Taran Peralta, he did only a term, came home 34 votes ahead of the man, famous Harry Douglas, 69-25. 2011, Taran Peralta exited the stage. Dr. Winston Green took down Richard Creary by 420 votes. 2016, Winston Green again. This time, Dr. Norman Dunn was the challenger, fell 5 votes short, a wafer-thin difference between the candidates in 2016. And in 2017, a by-election after Dr. Green's death, Sugar Shane, good friend of mine, Dr. Shane Alexis, brilliant medic, but even he was not strong enough to prevent Norman Dunn from entering Gordon House. 923, the majority there. And then, general election. It was a rematch, and Dr. Dunn increased the lead this time, a decisive victory, 1,731 over Shane Alexis. 2007 to 2020, that's the margin of difference. 2016, you'll say, well, 0%, yeah, 5 votes, it works out around about that. So that's why that appears that way. 2011. But the picture being painted, apart from 2020, elections in Southeast St. Mary have been on a veritable knife's edge. Nothing much between the two candidates. Marginal gains will be the difference between winning and losing. It is a very, very competitive seat. Local government election in Southeast St. Mary, Richmond, that's Richard Creary's place, came home for the JLP. Castleton, Labour Rights. Belfield is the one where, there's a Belfield, of course, in Manchester, as we all know, but this Belfield is in St. Mary. The Comrades are in charge there, and Anoto Bay came in for the JLP, so 593 more votes the JLP got in Southeast St. Mary than the PNP. All right, so Dr. Norman Dunn is lining up to speak with me now. Do I take the break now and come back with him fresh? Oh, no, I'm being told to go right into it. Good evening, Dr. Dunn. How are you?
Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm very well.
And good evening to your listeners.
And viewers. This is TV. You're used to me on radio.
And viewers.
Yes. I must also tell the viewers that you, of course, are State Minister in the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, so that's one of the responsibilities that's on your plate. All right, tell me about Southeast St. Mary. We had a conversation some time ago, which will stay private, but have you rediscovered equilibrium from that point is how I'll put the first question to you.
Never lost equilibrium. But Southeast St. Mary is, as I say, is traditionally, as being with the Jamaica Labour Party, if you look at the history, with both Senaros and Alvarez, and then, in that famous 18.5-year period that, some persons would like us to forget, the People's National Party, the PNP in that case, had it for 18.5 years. And, they said the rest is history in terms of what happened to Southeast St. Mary. Southeast St. Mary in particular suffered the brunt of underdevelopment in that 18 years. And that is what we have spent the last 7 years trying to correct in most cases. A number of things are left to be done. And, but, with this member of parliament, we get things done just not by name, but by nature, we get things done. But it has been a tremendous journey. It's my home. It's where I'm from. It's where I was born. And the groundswell of support is just tremendous in Southeast St. Mary, and hence the answer I had to him for never lost equilibrium.
I hear you. What is that one? Well, it can't be one thing, because people are hard to please, and people have a right to be demanding, especially when over various cycles, successive cycles of elections, Dr. Dunn, they have been denied services. And you've been there since 2017 at the by-election, one general election, so you will tell me that you need more time to really get to do the things that are lacking. But what is it that your constituents have consistently been saying to you? MP, we need improvement in this area, we need improvement urgently. What would you identify as that main thing, or those main things?
The main things. I must say, George, and this was one of my big disappointments, and one of the reasons why I decided to enter representational politics is because of that question you just said. There have been so much disappointment. I mean, if you look at our housing stock, disappointment. If you look at our road network right across Southeast St. Mary, disappointment. If you look at water supply and water system, disappointment. If you look at opportunities for not just our youth, disappointment. And these are some of the things that they have spoken about relentlessly. Even though we have been very successful in a number of things. Right now, I'm actually I'm in a constituency, having spent a wonderful day in a constituency, and I'm actually sitting here at the fire station, wanting to have a venue where you could have enough light so I could have this interview. And this is one of the success and one of the many successes that we have had over that period of time. I say over and over, we have had in this constituency an infrastructure deficit. And it was just palpable and evident everywhere. Everywhere was just degraded and degraded, and it was just almost impossible to understand how representation by the PNP in particular has been so bad in this constituency. It's so bad, and coming here, they have looked forward to the resolution and the repair of some of these things, and they've seen it, but there's so much that's left to be done, and that in itself can be an issue. Because persons are expecting that so much things need to be done in such a short time. But, we have done so much, and there's so much more that's left to be done. And we're saying to persons, you have seen the results, you have seen the evidence, you have seen it in front of your eyes, what has been accomplished. But there's so much more that needs to be done. And we're up to the task. We have an awesome Prime Minister. We have never seen a Prime Minister as Dr. Andrew Holness, in terms of just his presence, in terms of his articulation, in terms of his understanding of the things that Jamaica needs, and his ability to push forward with so many things in that short time. And we're saying to persons, you have a great government and you have a great member of parliament here in Norman Dunn.
So here's the thing then, MP. People will say, well, nationally, The Homeless Administration is campaigning on its record of achievement since 2016 forward. That's what they're campaigning on, and they've highlighted many things that they say the Homeless Administration can point to say, well, we did this, give us another term to continue. Your critics will say, look, the MP has been at the wicket for 8 years, 2017 by-election till now. It has been an extended run for Dr. Norman Dunn. And so many of the things that he would lament about, George, you should ask him, why is it that more progress has not been made in the critical areas, especially where road and water is concerned? So I put that to you. 8 years is a long time at bat. Is your record good enough for you to run on, Dr. Norman Dunn?
My record is excellent. And, you know, you speak about the Andrew Holness administration. Remember, the entire administration is made up of the constituencies where the member of parliament, 49 members of parliament, great colleagues, great friends who have been in those constituencies. And it's that work that is being seen right across Jamaica. So the Andrew Holness-led administration is a sum total of the works of the member of parliament and the members of parliament right across Jamaica. For South East St. Mary, my record stands, and I can campaign. As a matter of fact, I'm campaigning on that record. Right in my hand, I can pull up a list here. This is a list of achievement of this member of parliament. We have 104 things on this paper, and only 104 things is there because we have no more space on the paper. I mean, there's a lot of big ticket items and there's a lot of small ticket items. And it's my record I'm campaigning. I'm not campaigning on promises, absolutely not, but on records of achievement. And it's those records of achievement that stand in contrast to what has been there for other persons before.
Stick up in, Dr. Dunn, stick up in, I have to take the break. Stick up in, I have to take the break. Okay. And when I come from the break, I want you to get into some of those items that you have on that leaflet, that pamphlet that you have. I want you to tell the people what are some of those things that you've achieved in your term at bat. This is Lead Story Prime, South East St. Mary, under the microscope. More after these.
Internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winfred Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
Every dream conquered is another dream gained. I land and I fly again like a jet plane. Headed straight in your direction. 'Cause I'm wiser, one step closer. I'm winning 'cause I work so hard. And the music hits I play, and the people them I say we are my show tonight. Oh, what a feeling! Don't stop dreaming. Keep on believing in the power of the feeling. Whatever you want, take a chance. Song in your heart, step in your dance. You got a spark, don't put it down. Shine your lights on.
From politics to global events, from social issues to breaking news, Lead Story Prime dives deeper, cuts through the noise, and uncovers the stories that shape your world. Join us every Tuesday at 8 p.m. for Lead Story Prime with me, George Davis, for an hour of incisive analysis, expert interviews, and unparalleled coverage of the issues you care about. Lead Story Prime, your front row seat to the most compelling discussions. Lead Story Prime, where the truth comes first. Only on CVM TV.
Hey everybody, I'm Yendi, and this is Odyssey with Yendi. In this space, we connect with some of your favorite people as they share their journeys. Here we have some unfiltered conversations as we deep dive into their inspirations, motivations, and experiences to inspire our own life journey.
Odyssey with Yendi, Brought to you by Grace, Singer, and Island Net Services.
Protecting Jamaica's borders is a key priority for the Jamaica Customs Agency. The JCA will remain vigilant and resolute in effectively fulfilling this mandate. The time brought to you by the Jamaica Customs Agency is
8:45.
Welcome back to Lead Story Prime here on CVM TV. So we have a graphical representation of the results of the elections in Southeast St. Mary over the past 4 elections. And what it shows is that the JLP's vote share, as Sizzla sang famously many years ago, holding firm in the 7,000 region. Look at that green line. But look at the orange line. Since 2011, the vote share has fallen off precipitously, especially between 2016 and 2020. So a case of declining fortunes for the PNP if we're to go by the last 4 elections. Well, while for the JLP, they have hit a sweet spot and they have effectively held that line over the past 4 elections while the PNP has fallen away. Part of the reason for the PNP's falling off is the emergence of Dr. Norman Dunn in the constituency. After being beaten by Dr. Winston Green by a wafer-thin margin of 5 votes, he came back for more at the 2017 by-election when Dr. Green passed, necessitating a by-election. Dr. Shane Alexis came forward for the PNP. Dr. Dunn beat him and then repeated the trick at the 2020 general election, and he has been the man in charge of the constituency from that time forward to now. Dr. Dunn, you say that you have listed your achievements in the constituency since 2017. You've produced a pamphlet for dissemination among constituents, not just your supporters, because you want all people to see what you have achieved. Go to that paper now and tell Jamaica what it is that Norman Dunn has to campaign on for the next election.
Well, I like for your summation, because yes, the constituents of Southeast St. Mary has recognized that they have in them a winner. Their own son of the soil, Norman Dunn, that works. And that is why you have seen the fall off. And you're going to see even greater fall off in the next election. Because the people of Southeast St. Mary are some of the smartest people you'll ever find. And they have recognized that I am the best candidate. You know, George, before I go into the list, you know, I see my opponent and he has put a billboard and it says, I won't call his name, of course, but he said, better for the community. But I know when I went to prep school or primary school or little school, we had good, better, best. He is advertising that he's better for the community, not better for the community. I'm best for the community because there's good, better, best. And who wants better when they can get best? So I'm asking him to relook at his poster because he has better, while the citizens of Southeast St. Mary already have the best candidate whatsoever. List of achievements. You know, I've had the distinction of being a candidate who is not only from here, but has performed assiduously in terms of what we do. And some of the things are this. One, I have a distinction of having the only public classroom in Jamaica, grade 5 or 6 classroom, that is air conditioned. And that's a Rock River Primary School. I have a distinction of having the most school in the constituency of anywhere across Jamaica where the principal offices are air conditioned and I air conditioned. That's distinction. I have a distinction of having communities across Southeast St. Mary that now has Wi-Fi, about 7 communities with Wi-Fi. That's a distinction. I have a distinction of repairing the most roads in such a short time in Southeast St. Mary. I have a distinction of repairing the more bridges in Southeast St. Mary in the very short time. I have a distinction of doing these things. So these are not things that we're promising. These are things that has been done. We have a distinction of upgrading the most public institutions in Southeast St. Mary's history. We have repaired, completely rehabilitated the fire station that I'm currently sitting in. We have completely rehabilitated the market in Anata Bay. We have built 2 new institutions at the Anata Bay Hospital. We have a distinction of changing the Anata Bay Hospital from a type C to a type B. What that means, greater services to the people, not only of Southeast St. Mary, but all across this eastern board here in this area. I have a distinction of repairing, not necessarily the buildings in our community center, because I have a distinction of recreating the Anata Bay multipurpose complex that was formerly the Westmoreland Oval. I mean, named after a gentleman from a very long time, and I decided that no Anata Bay will have its own institution, which is the Anata Bay multipurpose complex. I have a distinction of creating the first mini stadium in Southeast St. Mary and all of St. Mary. I have a distinction of creating nice facilities, nice football facilities, not just in Southeast St. Mary, but all across Southeast St. Mary. These are things that I've done in Southeast St. Mary that no one else has
Tell me about
ever
the water
done.
side. Tell me about the water side of things now, Dr. Dunn.
Good. We have a distinction also of upgrading the Agwater Vale treatment plant. 6 new pumps in there coming from 1 pump in that facility where persons to get water irregularly, and whenever that water goes in a particular area, although we have what is called a regulated water system, which I've labeled personally a cruise system, because person gets water occasionally. They have their cycle where they get water each day of the week in different communities. But we have upgraded that with 6 new pumps. We have also upgraded the entire electrical facilities at that particular place. So you can ask any resident in Southeast St. Mary that benefits from that if the system goes down not even a quarter of the time that it used to go down before I came into representation politics. Not only that, we have 2 new systems working on, where now the Prime Minister came and broke ground for the Castleton water system from Castleton to Friendship Gap. And we're doing that project now to ensure that people can get water all the way to Friendship Gap. I have that distinction. We have also some new wells in the Jordan Run area to ensure that the water system that we're looking forward in developing in its totality is one where people will not only have regulated water system anymore, but they'll have a regular supply of water. These are things we are doing. These are not things we are promising.
So let me ask you then. After that admittedly impressive list of achievements that you've just gone through, some of the items, how come Christopher Brown, the PNP's man in Southeast St. Mary, how come he's running your foot so hot in the polls?
No poll should have been running my foot hot. A poll was done for St. Mary, and no poll has been done for Southeast St. Mary.
No, man. The last polls we did for
Southeast St. Mary?
Not the constituency. Not the constituency. You're correct, of course.
We can speak about the constituency.
Yes.
So I welcome one for the constituency. Yes. So what you're saying is not correct.
No. Hold on. Before you say what I say is not correct, listen to what I'm saying first. Yes. The PNP have done their canvass in the seat. Other people, other pollsters have done canvass of the parish, not the seats, and you are correct, not Southeast St. Anne.
Yes.
And they are saying that the feeling among those canvassed in St. Mary, the feeling among those canvassed in St. Mary is that you have a real fight on your hands to stave off Chris Brown's challenge and return to Gordon House. Are you saying that the perceptions are false, misleading?
That's what you're saying, George. I didn't say that, and the people of Southeast St. Mary.
I'm asking you.
Absolutely not. The Southeast St. Mary has recognized, as you said in your preamble when you came back to the segment, that they have now run up in a roadblock, which is me. So the result is going to be completely different. You have listed the results of elections, you have listed them, and you have seen even the parish council election. Even in the parish council election, we still came out significantly ahead of the PNP, and that's a parish council election. And I'm saying to you, watch for the general election.
Yeah, and again, I'm looking at I'm showing my viewers the parish council results from 2024, February 24 last year. Richmond, Castleton, Sonop, and apart from Belfield, a week in Belfield, but that's to be expected. Traditionally, week in Belfield, the JP is.
Can I say something to you?
Yes.
Can I say something to you?
Yes.
In 2020, I have the distinction again of the only Jamaica Labour Party member of parliament candidate who has won the Belfield division. Can you believe that?
Yes.
I have so much distinction in this, and I'm going to say the Jamaica listen right now. Watch for Belfield again.
I hear you on that. All right. So as we come to the close of this discussion, Dr. Dunn, your message to labor rights in Southeast St. Mary tonight is what?
Yes. My message is simple. This government has earned your trust. This government has earned your trust. And I'm saying to you, choose Jamaica. You're a member of parliament. You have earned the trust, and I've earned the trust of the people here. And this member of parliament offers not the better for the constituency, but the best for the constituency. I am your son. I am your uncle. I am your nephew. I walked today, and let me tell you, I met in a family. 21 persons in that family were my relatives, and it's the first time I'm seeing them. And I'm so happy I did that house to house tonight. And I don't want to give you much more detail, but that family alone, 21, will make a tremendous difference. So yesterday I was in a walk again, my classmates, these persons know me. I'm not stranger to them. I'm not one that came and spent a holiday like the other candidates. So the other candidate only came and spent a holiday here. So I was born here, I went to school here. I am your son.
So hold on. So Chris Brown says, after the next election, Norman's time done in Southeast St. Mary. You're saying not so?
No, I'm saying it's already done.
I hear you on that. Thank you for your time this evening. All the best to you.
Thank you very much, George, and thank you very much, your viewers.
Southeast.
And you can see how happy I am.
I see you. I see you. Southeast St. Mary Member of Parliament and State Minister in the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, Dr. Norman Dunn, bringing a close to the program, drawing the curtain. I make way for Patches. I'm depending on your son, Orville Higgins, to talk about West Indies cricket. What a man, love misery and pain. Yeah. Good evening.
From politics to global events, from social issues to breaking news, Lead Story Prime dives deeper, cuts through the noise, and uncovers the stories that shape your world. Join us every Tuesday at 8 p.m. for Lead Story Prime with me, George Davis, for an hour of incisive analysis, expert interviews, and unparalleled coverage of the issues you care about. Lead Story Prime, your front row seat to the most compelling discussions. Lead Story Prime, where the truth comes first. Only on CVM TV.
Hey everybody, I'm Yendi.